What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Let's dive into our first news. Daniel Cormier recently reacted to Tom Aspinall calling him a nightmare matchup during his prime. In a recent interview, Aspinall was asked how he thought a fight between him and Cormier would go if they were both at their peak. Without hesitation, Tom admitted that prime DC would have been one of the worst stylistic matchups for him in the heavyweight division. He said, "Peak DC, yeah, he's got the worst style for me ever. He's got a nasty style. He's short, explosive, and keeps walking forward, constantly changing levels between grappling and punching. He can knock you out, he can take you down, and he's got cardio for days. For my style, yeah, he's an absolute nightmare." Cormier responded to Tom's comments during their recent sit-down conversation, and instead of downplaying it, he expressed genuine appreciation for the respect Aspinall showed him. Laughing, DC said, "Hey man, thanks for giving me props about the fight. Even though you're kind of polishing me a little bit when you say, DC would have been a problem if we fought." Aspinall smiled and reminded him that he had told him the same thing years ago. Cormier admitted that hearing it again still meant a lot to him, saying, "I know you did, but still, to hear you say it now, it's nice, man." Every now and again, someone's guilty of showing a little emotional love. "Thank you, Tom." Cormier then jokingly added that if they had ever fought, he wouldn't have wasted any time standing with Aspinall. "I'd have been shooting from halfway across the octagon the moment they said fight," DC laughed. The interaction between the two was full of mutual respect, showing just how highly both men think of each other's skills. Cormier wrapped up by telling fans to make sure they watch Tom fight this week, praising him as one of the best heavyweights in the world right now. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, Kamaru Usman recently explained why he's not fighting Belal Muhammad. During a Q&A, Usman was asked directly why he isn't stepping into the octagon with Belal, who's currently ranked as the #1 contender in the welterweight division. Usman responded by saying he simply has nothing to gain from fighting him. He added that the supposed beef between them wasn't mutual, claiming most of the talk came from Belal. According to Usman, "I just think he's a dork. And you know what you do with dorks? You ignore them." He went on to explain that Belal being ranked #1 doesn't change the fact that he, Usman, has already been to the top. "I've been where he hasn't been," Usman said. "Yes, of course he's been a champion, but we saw what happened when it was time to defend. I have nothing to gain from fighting Belal Muhammad. He has everything to gain, that's why he's calling me out." Usman made it clear that his focus is on regaining the welterweight title, not fighting contenders who don't move him closer to that goal. "I'm not here to waste time," he said. "I want to get the title back and continue defending it. Why waste time with him? If I have the title and he's next, I'll happily kick his head in." Belal quickly responded to Usman's comments, firing back with, "You know a lot about getting your head kicked in." The remark referenced Usman's knockout loss to Leon Edwards. Usman's statement also sparked heavy criticism on social media. Many fans mocked his "nothing to gain" comment, pointing out that beating the #1 contender is the most direct route to another title shot. One fan wrote, "If Belal is ranked above you, how do you have nothing to gain? Beating him gets you a title shot." Others took jabs at Usman, saying that the head kick from Leon must have done some lasting damage. Some even accused him of ducking Belal entirely, saying he used to be the boogeyman of the division, but now avoids tough fights. Moving on to another news, Dustin Poirier recently shared his thoughts on the pressure Cyril Gane must be feeling ahead of his third undisputed title fight this weekend against Tom Aspinall. Dustin said he completely understands what Gane is going through, because he's been in that same position multiple times. Having fought for the lightweight title 3 times and coming up short each time, Poirier knows exactly how that kind of mental pressure can weigh on a fighter. Speaking to MMA Junkie, Dustin said, "Have I ever been in his shoes? I have the shoes right here. I lived in those shoes. It's a lot. It's a lot on yourself. Every time you go to sleep at night, when you wake up, when you go to the gym, you're thinking, this could be the last time I ever get a chance to make this happen. Every fight is different. Every fighter's mindset is different. Some people love that feeling while others crumble under it, but it's there, it's real, and he's definitely thinking about it." Dustin went on to say that what makes this matchup so exciting is how unique Gane's skill set is for a heavyweight. "We don't see many heavyweights who can move the way Gane can laterally," he said. "He's a real heavyweight. He's not just a big guy fighting at heavyweight. He's lean, muscled up, a great athlete, and knows how to kickbox." Poirier finished by saying it'll be interesting to see how Tom performs when he's standing across from someone with Gane's athleticism and movement. Moving on to another news, Renato Moicano recently took a shot at Gilbert Burns, who is currently on a 4-fight losing streak. During the latest episode of the Show Me the Money podcast, Moicano didn't hold back, reminding everyone of Burns' recent struggles. He brought up how Gilbert's losing skid has been costly, both for his career and reputation. Moicano joked about it while taking a few jabs, saying, "This mother got me 4 losses in a row," before laughing it off. He added that Burns shouldn't be asking for fights anymore. claiming, "You should not fight anymore. You make videos asking for fights and then you run away saying your belly hurts or that you're a little sick." Gilbert Burns, never one to stay quiet, immediately fired back. He challenged Moicano to a grappling match and confidently called him easy money. Burns responded, saying he doesn't respect Moicano and made it clear that if Renato really wants to test himself, he's ready to meet him on the mats. "You want to grapple? Let's go." "That's easy money, bro," Burns said with a smirk. The tension between the two escalated quickly, with both fighters trading insults and mocking each other's records. Moicano didn't seem fazed and kept rubbing in the fact that Burns has been on a downward streak. He doubled down, saying he respects fighters who stand by their performances, unlike Burns, who he accused of making excuses after losses. "I fight, I show up, and when I say I won, Moicano said confidently. The heated exchange ended with Burns still standing by his grappling challenge, claiming he'd handle Moicano easily. Both fighters have now put the challenge out there, and fans are buzzing about whether this war of words could lead to a real grappling showdown. Moving on to another news, Peyton Talbot has officially responded to criticism surrounding his upcoming fight against Henry Cejudo at UFC 323. When Dana White announced the matchup, many fans were shocked, saying that Cejudo represents a massive leap in competition compared to the opponents Talbot has faced so far. Critics pointed to his decision loss to Hani Barcelos at UFC 311 and argued that Cejudo is far too experienced for him at this stage. But in a recent interview with Ariel Helwani, Talbot made it clear that he's not backing down from challenges and explained exactly how the fight came together. Talbot said the reason the fight is happening is simple, because he said yes. "People see the fights that get announced, but they don't see how many people say no," he explained. Before Cejudo accepted the matchup, Talbot had been trying to fight on the MSG card and had gone through a long list of potential opponents ranked between him and Cejudo. "Everyone said no," he said. "There were all these reasons why people couldn't fight, but Henry said yes and I said yes. I've never said no to anyone. I was ready to fight any of the names in between us, but it just didn't work out that way." Despite the backlash, Talbot says he's genuinely excited about the opportunity. "I'm super excited to fight Henry," he said. "It's honestly the best fight I could have gotten." When asked why he likes the matchup so much, Talbot explained that it's about testing himself against greatness. "He's one of the GOATs. He's held belts at my weight and the one below. He's an Olympic gold medalist. There'll never be another Henry Cejudo. I have a ton of respect for him just for that reason." Talbot went on to add that he's not in the sport to take easy fights or chase favorable matchups. "I'm not taking fights just because I think I can win," he said. "We're here to test the best version of ourselves, and that's what matters most." Moving on to another news, the middleweight division just got even more exciting as Rob Whittaker has officially called out Sean Strickland for a potential showdown on the historic White House card set for June 2026. Whittaker said he's been eyeing this matchup for a long time, not out of bad blood, but because he loves the stylistic challenge that Strickland brings. He described Sean as a relentless forward pressure fighter with a style that always makes for an entertaining clash. Whittaker believes that beating Strickland, who currently sits at number 3 in the rankings, would catapult him right back into the middleweight title picture. For fans, it's a dream matchup. Two high-level strikers who thrive under pressure and never back down from a brawl. Meanwhile, over on the Mako and Burns podcast, the hosts broke down who they think Duplessis should face next. Their top pick was Brendan Allen. Allen is coming off a dominant win over RDR and has been vocal about wanting to make a serious title run. He's also made it clear that he wants to eventually face Khamzat, saying he believes he can give him a real challenge. However, as the host pointed out, Brendan still needs another win or two before he can realistically be in title contention, especially considering how stacked the middleweight division is right now. Fighters like Fluffy, Duplessis, and Strickland are all vying for the same spotlight. During their discussion, the Brazilian hosts mentioned that a fight between Brendan and Duplessis would be a great matchup given their styles and history. They recalled how there had already been tension between the two, even before Duplessis became champion. According to them, Brendan had been calling him out long before that, wanting the fight to happen. They also talked about Brendan's grappling skills, saying he's got a unique way of approaching the ground game. They compared different styles of grapplers, some great on top but weak from the bottom, and others strong defensively but lacking takedowns. They agreed that to beat someone like Khamzat, you need to have a complete grappling game, knowing how to defend takedowns, escape bad positions, and fight back from the ground. As the discussion wrapped up, one of them confidently said that Fluffy might actually be capable of beating Khamzat, a bold statement that only added more fuel to an already heated middleweight picture. Moving on to another news, Tom Aspinall might be eyeing a move away from the UFC once his contract expires, possibly shifting to boxing. Recently, Aspinall made headlines after saying he'd rather vacate his heavyweight title than fight his close friend Ilia. That statement didn't sit well with Dana White, who immediately reacted, calling it absolutely insane and saying he hates that kind of talk from champions. Dana made it clear that in his view, if you're holding the belt, you should be willing to fight anyone, regardless of friendship. However, things took another turn when Tom's father, Andy Aspinall, spoke out about his son's future. Andy revealed that he doesn't want Tom to re-sign with the UFC once his current deal ends. Speaking to RMC Sport Combat, Andy said he'd prefer to see his son transition to boxing, where he could earn far more money. Boxing for sure, Andy said confidently. The money is more money. Like, why not? He has 3 more fights left on his contract now, and I don't want him to sign a new one personally. He went on to explain that the pay gap between boxing and MMA is huge, especially at the elite level. If you get into the top percentage of that sport, the UFC doesn't pay anywhere near as much as boxing does, he added. Andy also praised Tom's skills in the ring, saying he's seen firsthand how well his son performs against professional boxers. I know from being around Tom every day when he spars good boxers, he spars really well, Andy said proudly. With just a few fights remaining on his contract, fans are now wondering if Aspinall will actually make the switch. A move to boxing could mean massive paydays and new challenges, but it might also mark the end of one of the UFC's brightest heavyweight careers. Moving on to another news, huge updates have surfaced regarding Khamzat and his next fight plans. During recent coverage of the ACA event, Khamzat was spotted in attendance, supporting his teammates Guram Kutataladze, who made a strong post-UFC return with an impressive TKO win, and Abdulrahman Dudayev, whose bout ended in a controversial split decision victory. Cameras captured Khamzat looking visibly frustrated when the scorecards were read, clearly showing his disapproval of the result. His intense reaction didn't go unnoticed, with fans immediately sharing clips online of him shaking his head and walking away from the cage after the announcement. After the event, reporters from a local outlet attempted to get a quick interview with Khamzat, but he refused, continuing his silent stance against the same media platform, something that's been ongoing for months. Instead, the reporters spoke with Khamzat's longtime friend, Alanbek Badu, who shared some key details about what's been going on behind the scenes and what's next for the undefeated star. Before diving into his comments, here's some important context. Ramadan begins in February and runs through March, meaning fighters who observe it often prefer to compete before it begins. According to Alanbek, Khamzat had initially planned to return in January, hoping to stay active after his August bout with Duplessis. However, those plans were derailed after Dana White refused to approve the timeline for his return. Alanbek revealed that Khamzat was eager to get back into camp quickly, aiming to fight before Ramadan, but Dana and the UFC wanted to push things back to a later date, possibly mid-2025. Alanbek added that Khamzat was frustrated by the decision, but is staying focused and continuing to train at full intensity. He emphasized that Khamzat's motivation hasn't dropped at all, and that he's still aiming to make his next fight one of the biggest of his career. While he didn't mention a specific opponent, fans are already speculating that the UFC might be holding him back for a major summer card, potentially around the same time as the White House event. For now, all eyes remain on Khamzat's next move, as the UFC middleweight division continues to heat up. Whether he fights before or after Ramadan, one thing's for sure. When he returns, the MMA world will be watching closely. Moving on to another news, Patchy Mix was recently at the center of controversy after reports surfaced claiming he failed a drug test for his fight against Magomed Magomedov in Bellator back in May of last year, a fight he originally won via split decision. According to Topology, the French MMA Federation, which has legal authority over MMA events held in France, communicated that due to the failed test, Patchy's win was being overturned to a loss. The news spread quickly across the MMA community, sparking major debate. Shortly after, Patchy responded to the reports by saying, "Weed ain't no performance-enhancing drug, only in Paris, SMH." His fiancée, Tatiana Suarez, also spoke out to defend him, providing more context on Instagram. She explained that Patchy didn't smoke weed during competition and that the lab had made a serious error. According to her, the decimal point in the test results was placed incorrectly, making it appear as though he was over the legal limit when he wasn't. Suarez revealed that Patchy spent nearly $20,000 in legal fees trying to correct the issue, but despite their efforts, the French authorities still refused to clear his name at the time. She called the situation super messed up and described France as a nightmare to work with when it comes to MMA regulations. However, new updates have since come out clearing Patchy of any wrongdoing. Reporter Damon Martin confirmed that Patchy Mix's win over Magomed Magomedov will not be overturned after all. Martin said he spoke directly with Mike Mazzulli, who oversaw drug testing on that Bellator card in France. According to Mazzulli, Patchy's test for marijuana came back negative under his supervision, meaning his win remains official and fully stands. Moving on to another news, Kamaru Usman just dropped a bold statement that immediately sparked debate across the MMA world. During a recent discussion ahead of UFC 321, Kamaru called Gane one of the most complete and athletic fighters in the entire UFC roster. He praised Gane's movement, coordination, and physical ability, saying that what makes him special isn't just his size or power, but how fluid and natural he looks inside the octagon. According to Kamaru, Gane could easily make the shortlist for the best all-around athletes in the sport, something very few heavyweights can claim. However, Henry Cejudo wasn't having any of it. He immediately disagreed, saying that MMA isn't about who can jump the highest or dunk a basketball. It's about fighting, and Gane's style doesn't always translate to dominance when it matters most. The two went back and forth on the topic, with Cejudo pointing out that Gane has struggled in key moments, especially when facing elite grapplers, while Kamaru continued to emphasize the difference between being a pure athlete and being a complete fighter. As for UFC 321, Gane is set to face Tom Aspinall in a heavyweight title clash that's got fans buzzing. Cejudo predicted Aspinall to win, citing his wrestling skills, speed, and knockout power. He believes Tom has all the tools to finish Gane, possibly in the later rounds. Kamaru, on the other hand, refused to make a clear prediction, calling it one of those fights that's nearly impossible to pick because both men bring something unique to the table. He said Gane's athleticism and striking are elite, while Aspinall's composure and wrestling could be the deciding factors if the fight goes deep. Meanwhile, outside the cage, Aspinall's future is creating more headlines. His father and longtime coach Andy Aspinall recently said he doesn't want Tom to re-sign with the UFC after his current 3-fight contract expires. He believes boxing offers far more financial potential and has openly encouraged Tom to transition once the deal is done. It's an interesting twist, especially since Aspinall admitted years ago that he considered leaving MMA for boxing. With his camp already planning that possible move, UFC 321 could be one of his final steps toward that transition. That's it from MMA Pulse News. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.